Hey ladies and gents, welcome back. This is going to be part 4 to What If Naruto Was a Vampire. So, that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Also make sure to go check out my Discord. I'll leave a link to that in the description below where you can just give me, different what if ideas. And this video is not actually going to have a like goal just because, why not? And yeah, anyway, I just felt like you guys should subscribe because, it's the nice thing to do. Like, come on, you guys just gotta be nice like that. Anyway, let's do a brief recap of what happened in the last part before getting into the new material of the what if itself. In the last part, Naruto discovered a new weird ability. He basically can completely control people with, biting them. Not going to make Naruto overpowered. I don't see any way to do this. And he also discovered that he can do certain percentages and stuff like that. He then went on to defeat almost everybody in the cheating exams and sorry, I almost said killed, but no, he pretty easily would actually defeat Gaara, who would have ended up using Shukaku, or somebody commented, the One-Tails. No fucking dip, I don't care about your comment anymore. Anyway, I don't care anymore. Like, not gonna lie, that kind of made me mad. They're like, actually, it's the One-Tails, and I'm just like, you do realize they said that, right? Like, that's what Shukaku is. That's what. Never mind. Anyway, that little tangent aside, he was able to completely control Shukaku, the One-Tails, and Gaara. So, with him being able to do that, that's where we left this last part off. So, let's get into the new material of the what if. So, a few things to cover. For one, Tsunade is never going to need to be recovered because of the fact that good old... I don't know why I was about to say good old. That doesn't really make too much sense. But because of the fact that Hiruzen was never actually killed by Orochimaru. Along with the fact that Sasuke is not actually going to leave the village. He never got a curse mark placed on him. So those things like kind of changing, meaning that they don't really happen. And that entire part of the Naruto thingy is gone. Meaning that the gap between Naruto and Shippuden is about to happen. Which, would... I'm going to say Naruto still goes and trains, but I'm going to say he trains with Kakashi instead, for one simple reason. He's never even met Jiraiya yet, so I don't really see a reason for him to meet him now, especially since they never had that bonding trip of going to rescue Tsunade, anything like that. So, or not rescue Tsunade, sorry, but like go get Tsunade to become the Hokage. So, none of that actually happens. So, they don't have to go get her. So, Naruto goes and he trains with Kakashi instead for the 3 years. In which time, he finds out a lot of different things about his powers and everything like that. And one other thing that Naruto could do is his eyes evolve. Instead of just being able to slow down time and perceive things slower around him, Naruto can completely stop time. He could only do this in short bursts, and while time is stopped, he can't actually move. Like, nobody can move around him, but Naruto's brain will function, meaning that Naruto will have time to think. Think of different battle strategies and plans, on the move and on the fight, because he can do that now. Like, say somebody's about to swing a sword at him. Naruto can completely stop time and just be thinking about this. Like, how do I want to react to this? He can think about it for like 5 minutes at a time, or however long. Yeah, we'll say 5 minutes is his max at a time, but then it's kind of like Obito, like you could turn it off for just a second, and then that timer would like reset kind of a thing. So Naruto could have basically almost a nearly infinite amount of time to just think about what he wants to do in certain situations. So with that, Naruto can kind of stop time, but it's a limited version of stopping time because he can't move or do anything like that while time is actually stopped. But that's obviously a massive upgrade for what Naruto can normally do, and obviously on top of that he still can use just the slowed down version, but he can still move, but he's slower. So he can use both of those different phases of his eye power thing. And one other thing that Naruto was doing over this time was actually trying to not necessarily develop an army, but yeah, basically develop some sort of an army. Random people, Naruto would actually bite them, and he'd basically give them the order. Become my pet, basically become my servant. They would do so, and Naruto would tell them to go back to their, normal ways and forget about everything that just happened with Naruto biting them and everything like that. They'd completely forget about that and go back to their normal ways, except for one thing. Naruto can give them an order at any point, and they would be completely forced to obey it. He's done this to basically almost everybody in the Leaf Village, and some from other villages, obviously. Like, he's done it to Gaara, he's done it to Orochimaru, but he never gave Orochimaru that order, so that wouldn't really work unless Naruto bit him again. But he's given this order to many different people. Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, basically everybody, and basically, everybody, like I just said. Like everybody, like almost, let's think, who Tsunade probably wouldn't have it, neither would Jiraiya, because Naruto's never met them, but other than that, almost everybody in the Leaf Village would actually have it, because of the fact that Naruto would be able to pretty easily contact them. Like, Hiruza, Naruto walks up, he's like, hey, Hiruza, and he talks to him for a little bit, and then he bites him. Stuff like that. With Naruto actually having an excuse to stay in the village, being he never left, he still trained with Kakashi, but he generally would do it inside of the village, and stuff like that. So Naruto would pretty easily be able to do that. And along his missions, that would take him to other villages and different things like that, meaning that Naruto, when he entered these different villages, would be able to literally just bite people there, making them kind of his servants in a way. So that would happen, and the 3 years of Shippuden would actually end. And Naruto would have a pretty massive army, considering all things considered, and whenever somebody would try to fight, Naruto could simply snap his fingers, and everybody would stop trying to fight, because he can give them the order to, remain peaceful. So Naruto can basically, kind of from the shadows, control people in a way. He can completely alter their mindsets in this weird way where it seems like they're the ones thinking it. It's kind of like Kodo Matsukami. Kodo Matsukami in a way. It's like makes it so that the people actually think that they want to do this order that Naruto is giving them, making it so that they don't know they're under some sort of control or anything like that. So some more time would pass, and eventually Deidara and Sasori would end up attacking the Sand Village, and Naruto would notice it. How would Naruto notice it? Well, because one of his servants was actually, taken out. This being Gaara, obviously. He notices this, and he decides to head over there, alone. He doesn't tell anybody. He doesn't really need to. He won't get punished for it, because everybody in the Leaf Village could be completely under his control. So, he heads over there completely by himself. So, by the time he'd get there, this is about the time that Temari and everybody else would be leaving, meaning that Naruto arrived there much earlier than he would in the original, like literal days earlier. So when he arrives there, everybody's wondering how exactly Naruto was able to, sense that they were actually there. Naruto basically tells them, he's like, I'm just here for a visit. Did something happen? And they explain what happened. Naruto's like, pretends to be surprised by this before he basically runs around the room, biting everybody there before giving them the order, forget what happened and become my servant. All of them would obviously go back to their normal ways and never really think anything of what just happened because nobody saw anything happen. Anyway, a little bit more time would pass, and Naruto would actually be going instead of Kankuro. Kankuro hasn't really had the chance to leave yet, because Naruto arrived so quickly that Kankuro never had the chance to actually, leave in pursuit and get nearly killed by Sasori, or would have been killed if Sakura hadn't been there. So, Naruto tells him to stay there, and he leaves to go after Gaara, because he's a pretty powerful servant that he might actually need in the future. So he goes after him, and eventually he would arrive at the location, where people would actually sense that Naruto is there, and they'd send a 33% clone of, I think it was a 33% clone, the 33% clone of Itachi and Kisame, both of them going towards Naruto. So, Naruto would pretty easily actually manage to take them down. He tried to bite them, but then he realized that after biting them, he wasn't able to do anything, because they weren't actual, people, I guess you could say. They weren't actual, things. They were just clones, I guess you could say. They were weird anyway. So, Naruto bites them both, but they simply don't do anything. Naruto's like, oh, well, I can't control them, so I might as well just kill them. So, he kills both of them, and he arrives there at the entrance of that massive cave that they were sealing away Gaara inside of. So as Naruto arrives there, he would break down the massive frickin' boulder that's sitting in front of it before entering the room with the people, the clones, or the little, shadow people, I guess you could say. It's kind of weird. Basically, the only people that are, actually there would be Deidara and Sasori, of which Naruto would promptly he'd pretty easily kill them. But would he kill them, though? No, he wouldn't. Obviously, he wouldn't kill them. He'd run up to them, he'd bite them, and he'd tell them to basically remain in the shadows, don't be seen by anybody, and, become my servant. Because Naruto can give multiple orders, because he can. Maybe Naruto couldn't have before, but because of the 3 years he's had to train this ability and hone it, he's able to do that now. So he gives them multiple orders, telling them to stay in the shadows, stay away from whoever their leader is, and never really be seen again until Naruto gives them the order to, come to his destination, or, whenever he basically needs them to do anything. Naruto can do that from a distance, because he can think of the person's name, or think of the person if he actually remembers them. He doesn't actually have to be, next to that person or actually see them. He can just, basically think of them. He's like, okay, I remember that person's name, or I remember his face, or I remember their face, and he can, make a mental image of them in his mind, and boom, they have to do exactly what Naruto wants them to do. So Naruto would end up leaving from the cave, picking up Gaara's body behind him, who would actually not be too weakened. He didn't really have Shukaku, or the One Tails, sucked out of him too much, so he would actually still be a pretty decent amount of strength left. So Naruto would start dragging him back to the village, or not dragging him, but carrying him back, and eventually Gaara would awaken. And he'd thank Naruto, and eventually they'd return at that actual Hidden Sand village, where everybody would be really excited, but they kind of concerned. Everybody there knew that Naruto was pretty strong before he had taken down Gaara, but they didn't know he was that strong. They were kind of concerned about that. They're like, huh, he might be a threat in the future if we don't do something about that. But obviously, he's so much more of a threat than they could ever imagine, because everybody there is already under Naruto's control. So, that's all I'm saying. Anyway, so Naruto would end up returning back to the Leaf Village with the good news. He actually saved Gaara, nobody really had to die, and Naruto gained a few more servants. Obviously, he doesn't tell anybody, like, yeah, I gained more servants, all of you guys are already my servants, stuff like that. He doesn't tell them that, obviously. He basically is just like, yeah, I saved Gaara, and I killed 2 of the Akatsuki members, and Jiraiya would be summoned because he knows a lot about he's kind of like the spy. He knows a lot about the Akatsuki, and he hears that 2 of their members were taken down single-handedly by Naruto. He looks over, and then he recognizes it. He remembers something now. Minato is one of his pupils, I guess you could say, but he never really liked Minato to as much of an extent as he did in the original, simply for one reason. He was a vampire. He was a lot colder, a lot darker than he would be actually, normally. So he basically, Jiraiya would realize this. It's his son. Then, looking at his eyes, and he remembers Kushina at the same time, and he's like, okay, interesting. This is Jiraiya's first time actually, coming to real contact with Naruto. And he asks Naruto how strong they were. Naruto basically tells him, he's like, they weren't that strong, I one-shot them both. Jiraiya would just nod at this, not really wanting to give Naruto an actual reaction. He knows that Naruto would be strong, he just didn't know he would be this strong. He's kind of concerned about this fact, but he decides to let it go for now. He would basically tell Naruto a little bit of information about the Akatsuki, and eventually, he tells Naruto. He's actually, really recently, as a matter of fact, discovered the location of the Akatsuki leader, I guess you could say. Naruto's like, oh, interesting. And where exactly is this? Jiraiya looks at Naruto and he's like, the Rain Village, actually. Naruto's like, okay. I'm gonna go over there. You have fun here. Jiraiya's like, wait, what? No, you're not going there alone. You can't do anything there. Naruto's like, I'm going alone. There's nothing you can do to stop me. And as he does this, Naruto realizes something. He basically slows down time for a second, so that Jiraiya wouldn't really be able to react to Naruto. He rushes forward, and he bites down on Jiraiya's neck, with everybody around Naruto really surprised, but then all of a sudden their mind just snaps. They don't remember anything that just happened, along with Jiraiya now being completely under Naruto's control, forgetting that memory, and going back to his normal ways, with Naruto going back to his original position, pretending like nothing ever just happened. Basically, Naruto can erase memories. So, with that, Jiraiya would actually be, technically speaking, under Naruto's control. He'd say, I'm going alone. Jiraiya would have nothing that he could say against this, because, again, Naruto's mind control works in a weird way, making it so that the person doesn't know that they're being mind controlled, and later on they wouldn't be able to say, I think he was controlling me. They legitimately think that this is exactly what they want to do. This is what they want to say. So, Naruto would end up going to the Rain Village, to where Pain would be. So, as Naruto goes to the Rain Village, he senses a bunch of pretty powerful entities around. But that's where I'm going to leave this part off. See you guys in the next part. Peace out. Bye.